Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Jared Zabransky. Let's get started. All right, so the NFL draft is over. I think I need some different videos to sort of break up the draft class recap videos because to hit you with 32 of those all at once seems a bit unfair and I don't want those to get boring. So I'll sprinkle in some other tidbits for a while until we get finished with those. So I thought would be a good idea because I saw some other people posting ideas like this is to talk about the quarterbacks for next year's draft in 2021. And this isn't really like the order I have them ranked in. Don't get that. I kind of an idea from this. This is just in random order. It's probably, the ones that I'm more interested in watching and whatnot. But I think it's a very good. It has the potential to be a very good class next year. Maybe even more so exciting than this year, depending on what happens. But there's some situations that I thought I'd just go over and let you know what I'm looking forward to for this college football season and scouting these players. Quick note: why am I wearing a North Carolina Tar Heels hat? Not really a North Carolina Tar Heels fan. I rooted for the basketball team a little bit back in college, but this is about college sports. College hat. Do the math. I don't know. When the hell am I ever going to wear this again? All right. So, talking about 2021 quarterbacks. Um, I'm not really going to try to sort of, peg where they're going to go in the draft in this video or what teams need quarterbacks in this video. This is just kind of just to, get the names out there, just to start a conversation, just to begin, taking the first baby step look at, who they are. And I think there's a couple familiar names at the top of the list. Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, 6'6", 220 pounds. Everybody wanted to draft him number one overall this year, but he wasn't eligible. So he's got 2 championship games under his belt. And it looks like he is a lock to be the number one overall pick heading into next year's draft if he declares, which he probably will, because at this point, he has really nothing left to prove except for how he does this season. So I don't think anything less than a college football championship would be disappointing. But if he gets to the playoffs, he has any sort of season that he did in his last couple years. Hopefully he progresses a little bit more, because we saw what happened to Joe Burrow when he took off and had one of the greatest college football seasons of all time. Boom, number one pick, no debates, no questions for months. It was all just solidified. So Trevor Lawrence is the number one to watch. Number 2, Justin Fields from Ohio State. I'm starting to already hear early rumblings, and by early I mean yesterday and today, that there's going to be some narratives coming out against him. Number 1, why wasn't he able to beat out Jake Fromm in Georgia? Now, a lot of that probably has to do with incumbency, because Jake Fromm was, he won the starting job first. The system was in place, better fit for the offense. And so it really didn't make much sense for Justin Fields to stick around, because he wasn't going to win that job from him. Number 2, people seem to think that it is possibly negative to Justin Fields' draft stock if Dwayne Haskins doesn't improve this year or produce. And the thinking behind that is, well, you saw Dwayne Haskins' numbers from Ohio State. You're seeing Justin Fields' numbers from Ohio State now. Are the two related, in a sort of vacuum, where if Dwayne Haskins is having success at Ohio State but not in the NFL, does that translate to some bad news for Justin Fields when it comes to his NFL potential? That's not something that I agree with. I'm just throwing it out there as a warning sign that that's going to be something that people might talk about. But if Dwayne Haskins blows up this year, you'll never hear about it. So just something to look out for. Moving on, Jamie Newsome, who is the newly acquired transfer in Georgia. He transferred over from Wake Forest. I hadn't heard about him until today. And I was like, well, the name sounds familiar. And then because you pop in the Wake Forest film. But if you go watch Jamie Newsome's highlights, this guy's a dual threat quarterback who has a pretty impressive arm. And I think given the talent that is going to be around him in Georgia compared to Wake Forest, he's got real potential to blow up this year. So that's why I have him pretty high on the board. Again, this is not like final rankings. This is not, preseason rankings. This is just people that I'm interested in. All right. I just don't want that to get conflated. Moving along, we have KJ Costello, Mississippi State transfer. I'm really glad he decided to go back to school for another year. He did well at Stanford, but the injury, sort of set him back this season. So I'm excited to see this, that he's picked Mississippi State, because now he's going to be in Mike Leach's offense. So this is another guy, kind of like Jamie Newsome, who's gone to greener pastures, whose numbers could skyrocket. So I'm very interested to watch Mississippi State football this year. Moving on, we have Sam Ehlinger from Texas, who is also a dual threat and needs to develop a little bit more as a downfield passer, but very excited to see him. Went back to school. I think that was the smart decision. Same thing with Kellen Mond, Texas A&M. Brock Purdy is the one that I think is probably going to have a tough time getting recognition because of his size. He's the smallest one in this group that I have up here at 6'1", 209. Everybody else is at least 6'3" or taller, except for Tanner Morgan, who comes in at 6'2" from Minnesota. Tanner Morgan and Brock Purdy are probably going to have difficult times breaking into the early rounds of the NFL draft next year. Morgan's so much more because we've only seen so much of him so far, and I think he's going to really need to step up this season. I mean, he's got Bateman, so I mean, you lose Tyler Johnson, that's one thing, but he still has got Bateman, who could be a first-round pick next year on his own. Then moving into the FBS, you got Trey Lance, North Dakota State. North Dakota State is starting to become somewhat of a quarterback factory. Carson Wentz, and they've had some guys that have played good college ball that haven't sniffed the NFL draft, and they've been a thorn in my side from Youngstown State for a number of years, ever since they entered the Missouri Valley Football Conference back when it was known as the Gateway. But Trey Lance is going to be one to watch out for. I've already watched a little bit of his film from this past year, and it looks pretty good. Last but not least, Kyle Trask from Florida. This is the one I know the least about, but I at least know that there is some medical red flags. So that will be something to watch. And one of the reasons he won the job was because of other injuries to people in front of him on the depth chart. I forget the guy's name, but I think he's in Arkansas now. So Kyle Trask rounds out the list. These are the names of the quarterbacks that I'm most interested in watching tape on next year, and I might even start a little bit early, because everything's still up in the air about the college football season. They're having discussions, but what better way than just to start watching last year's film? Some of them I've already watched a little bit, like Costello, Kellen Mond, because they were potential draft candidates this year. So very excited. If there's anybody else that you think that is worthy of some attention as a potential NFL draft prospect for the 2021 season, let me know, and we'll add them to the board. So yeah, very excited. Most excited about Jamie Newsome and Costello because of their new environments and their new offenses, especially with Costello being in a Mike Leach offense. I think that's very exciting. And yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. Again, just to introduce some of the quarterbacks that have the potential to be in the NFL draft in 2021. All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.